And now we're live. Welcome, everyone, to another great episode of Breaking Bread with Corey. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. A lot is happening. A lot is happening around the world, or around this country. A lot of positives and a lot of negatives. I you know. I just want to say, wow, I don't even know where to begin, but thank you so much for joining me. Hello, hello. We have two great shows coming at you today for your happy Thursday. Two extraordinary winemakers, two family winemakers that are going to be sharing the screen with me in the next few hours. And if you're just joining me right now, go ahead and hit that airplane button. Go ahead and invite your first five friends on there so they can join in on our conversation if you don't mind. Let me see. Let me get myself situated here. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, everybody. Hello. All right, all right. Hello, 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 hello. Let me see if I had, let's see. Anybody else? Let me see, anybody else? Hello, 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 hello. All right. So I was just getting myself situated, and I see you guys down there. Hello, hello. Don't forget, you could do this too. Go ahead and hit that airplane button and invite maybe the first 5 or 10 friends that are on your list so they could join us in this conversation. It'd be great. I just want to start off by saying, hey, like I said, happy Thursday, everyone. What a crazy week we've been having here across this country and across the world. And I am just so happy to bring some positive and some fun time sharing the screen the next few hours. So thank you all who are joining me today. I have two guests today, two winemakers, and I'm excited to be sharing their wines. And I already busted this one open, and it is absolutely delicious. From Amplify Wines, this is a Sangiovese rosé, and I'm actually pairing it with something very simple, fresh fruit. And I have fresh strawberries and watermelon, and it's very simplistic, especially as we start heading into the spring and summer months. I always say when you look at the color of the glass, especially with Sangio has a lot of red fruits, great representation, and it pairs really nicely. And so just an abundant and just an amazing pairing with these two, the wine and the fresh fruits. But I'm so excited to be sharing the screen with my first guest. We've been talking back and forth through email and sometimes by phone, and I'm so excited to be sharing the screen with them. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them on right now. Let me go ahead. Hello, hello, hello. Let's see if we get the magic going. Hey,
Hi.
how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I'm just setting my screen up here. How's the weather out in California right now?
It's beautiful. Yeah, it started with a little drizzle, but it's cleared and sunny skies now.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. over here out in Oregon, we're in some like moderate. It's like in the high 60s, low 70s. So it's just nice. The mornings are nice and crisp. But as I started off the show, I was telling everybody that I've already started to sample. I was so excited when you were telling me that you were going to send this. And I was like, I am all over this. And I also have another bottle here I want to show your 2019 Red Table wine. It looks absolutely delicious as well. I love the wax. It's so fancy. I feel like I should be in a gondola. Like, my wife and I should be sharing this bottle. So that is absolutely great. But this rosé, this Sangio rosé is absolutely delicious. And all I'm pairing it with right now is fresh strawberries and watermelon.
That sounds perfect.
And it is just refreshing, and it almost has when I first popped it open, I first got like this nice, almost this rhubarb scent.
Mm-hmm.
I think of when I was back in California, one of my favorite places that my grandparents used to take me down in Southern California was this restaurant, a family restaurant called Polly's Pies. And Polly's, they do like fresh baked pies. It's kind of like Marie Callender's, but like an older version, with like older waitresses like named Flo and stuff that are, waiting on you. But they always have fresh baked pies. And one of their famous pies is rhubarb. And I always say when you have a great wine, it's very nostalgic. It takes you back to a place. This automatically took me back to Cali when I was young with my grandparents. So great wine. I gotta say, cheers to you on that. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, we're drinking it too.
Woo! So I want to tell you first of all, thank you so much for you both for joining me. I know when we were talking, I know you have a pretty busy schedule, so I really appreciate you both sitting down and joining me today. And like I said, it's been a long time coming. I can't believe how fast it's come.
You were talking about the same thing. I kept thinking, oh, it's 2 months away. It's 2 months away. And then it was like, oh, it's today.
It kept so fast. And then I'm like, okay. And I have to do everything. I do everything by myself. So when I look at the scheduling and I look at the graphics and I try to grab everything, and I'm like, okay, I got to make sure I have everybody's, all their information in so I can get it out, relay it out, and post it out. But again, thank you so much for your taking the time and your support. I really appreciate it. So let's kick it off. Let's go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, great. So I am Marlen Porter.
I'm Cameron Porter.
And we are Amplify Wines. So we started Amplify in 2013. We had both been in the industry for about 8 years before we started Amplify, just working in various parts of the industry from restaurant, cellar, winery management. I came more from the business side. Cameron came both from the cellar side. And I think just through expanding, doing a lot of wine tasting, expanding our palates, we fell in love with old world wines. And that happened to be, naturally made, as it's been. And so I think our biggest inspiration, at that point was trying to capture, the acidity and a little lower alcohol, very food friendly wines that we were enjoying, that we could maybe have, grown in from our own backyard. And so that was kind of how Amplify started. We started with 50 cases of Carignan and 50 cases of Viognier, and have since then just grown the winery year by year organically as we've, been able to add distributors and grow our, direct to consumer market. In 2020, we got our own facility and are now have a tasting lounge. So we've just kind of grown a little bit year by year. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. Good job. Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you hit on something that is very important. You did Carignan and you did Viognier as your first two, and those are those are pretty, I always say those are pretty aggressive, because Carignan is one that is not so much dominant that you always hear about. It's up and coming. You see now more of it being produced and made. But Viognier is so special. And that's awesome to take that on. And to fall in love with an area like France. You know, France has a lot of inspiration. It holds a lot of inspiration for a lot of somms and winemakers, people just in the industry. I always think it's like when you talk about wine in general, I always think about old world. I always think about France, Italy, Spain, Germany, and what they do. Even Spain, even though Spain has a little bit more of the new world influence to it, they still all have this really traditional method of their product, what their product is, and how they make it. And I love what you're talking about as far as going into that traditional sense of natural winemaking. What was besides that influence of having that French influence or that old world influence? What was the most important thing to really go in that direction with that natural winemaking?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it was really about, for one of the things that we, fell in love over besides wine is music. We're both musicians.
Yeah.
Mar's dad and uncles played in Grupo Anello, like, very famous band. So, I think when we approached wine, to some degree, we wanted to approach it like we approach listening to music or making music, which is
Hey.
we want to create something that's unique, that captures, a certain voice, that relays a certain feeling in a way that you haven't experienced before. And so for us, working naturally, certainly there's the environmental aspect of it, but there's
Right.
also, I think what really drove it for us was the creative aspect. And the wines that we were coming across that we found very, emotionally moving happened to be made by these people that were working naturally. And I think part of what we were moved by is the fact that we would taste them and go, you know what, we haven't had this experience before. So we both cut our teeth on the classics, old world, very classic Burgundy and Bordeaux.
Right. Your sound just cut out really quick. I don't know. I don't know if it's something that you did, or let me see. Can you hear me? You can hear me, right? Yeah, your audio is still out. Try this. One of the things that has happened with everybody is, yeah. All right. So Marlen and Cameron we just had a little bit of audio issues, and that's what usually happens on a lot of these shows. I've seen it with a lot of other ambassadors out there. They're in the middle, their conversation, and then the audio cuts out. So bear with us. Thank you all for joining us. Today we have two amazing shows of two amazing winemakers. We're sitting with our first guest right now, Cameron and Marlen Porter from Amplify Wines. Let's see if we can reconnect. All right. Right. Here we go. All right.
And we're back.
I got you. And I've seen this happen so many times. It's happened with me, but I've seen it so many times across the board with other ambassadors. In the middle of their discussion, also the audio will cut out. So thank you for just reconnecting. And if that ever happens again, I'll try to wave you.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so
but go ahead. Yeah, continue on. Yeah.
It's thinking about wine in context of music, which is, as you can see with the label names and, Four on the Floor, Ducanella, Parapato, even that has a musical connection. For us, it's about trying to create something that is emotionally moving in the same way that music can be, and which captures, a singular voice in the same way that music can.
Right.
You know, and again, the wines that we were really moved by and inspired by that made us say, we want to do something like this, were people who were crafting wines like that. And so, you know, we started to research, well, how are they making these wines? Oh, they're organically farmed. They're fermented with native yeast rather than inoculated. You know, they're not, you know, adding anything other than maybe just a very, very minimal amount of sulfur in the wines. And so, you know, for us, working naturally was really a way to drive towards something that was unique and was ours. You know, letting these wines go to places that sometimes might be a little scary, you know.
Right.
But trusting that they'll resolve themselves and giving them the time to find themselves. You know, so for us, that's really the driver. We want you to taste our wines and have, you know, a visceral reaction to it. And we hope that reaction is, I love this, you know, but we accept the fact that some people are going to go, you know what, this isn't for me. But that's what we want to make as artists and as winemakers. We want something that you go, you know what, I love this, or I don't understand this.
Right.
You know, we accept the fact that people are going to go, you know what, I don't grasp this. You know, I need something different. But, you know, it's wines that I think have an opinion and have soul and are alive and, you know, hopefully move people.
It's awesome because when you were talking about music, my dad was a musician and my oldest brother is a musician. And so when you were talking about wine, about making a wine that had that kind of connection or that movement, when you pop it open, it is just one of those things, you know, with music connects people just like wine does.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was tasting your wine, I always describe wines by like books or classic movies, actors or actresses. But when you were talking about music, I remember when I tasted your wine, it just brought me back to sitting on a Saturday morning. We had this old wooden stereo that was probably, I don't know how long, it was like 6 feet long, and you had the little sliding door, and you had a little AM/FM radio with your turntable, and you would throw your LPs on, and it had like 3 or 4 speakers inside the cabinet. I'm talking old school.
Yeah.
But we would like listen to everything from like, you know, as far as, you know, Betty Goodman, like as far as big band, to, you know, Glenn Miller. Then you go to John Coltrane. You go to all the like the updated Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, you know, Al Green. You start, you know, the Beatles, Aerosmith. You go on and on. That's what this wine really, like, when you started talking, it just brought me back to that. And I think music has that connection of gathering. And this is so spot on with that. And it's so funny because I saw one of your posts about the mixtape label.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh man, they must be big fans of Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, because they have that little mixtape. And then I was like, that's really cool that you have that connection with music, and that's special. That's taking it completely to a different way. Even a few people have mentioned that on their comments, that was an interesting way to go about your winemaking and use that in your analysis, or how your focus was, your vision for winemaking. And that is so cool. That is unique. And then you're taking it to another level by going, okay, you're either going to love it, or it's going to be one where you're going to have to try to understand it and really start to read into it. And that's how wines really should be. Like, I think, you know, a lot of consumers nowadays, they want the Cliff Note version. They want it there, and they want the happy ending. They want to see the whole plot when they drink a bottle of wine. For some of us, we want the novel. We want it to develop, and we want to try to figure it out. What is going on with this character? And that is one of the things that's really special about this whole movement. I think, I don't call it a trend. I think it's a movement of this natural winemaking, because it's bringing things back, not just to the way it was done back in the days, but now we're talking about the environment and what it's actually doing, how it's leaving a positive impact. We're doing something that tastes really good and really interesting, but we're also doing something that's leaving an impact, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that certainly drives us as well, is that environmental aspect for sure. The fruit we work with is organic, biodynamic. A lot of the growers that we're working with are really, I think, moving philosophically as well towards what we really are passionate about, which is regenerative agriculture, permaculture, and it's not just to me. There's not like some kind of separation between the environmental aspect of it and the deliciousness of it. For me, they're one and the same. Like when you move towards farming that is about creating a balanced ecosystem, more of a polyculture, you end up with fruit that is, to me, more indicative of where it's grown. And also just more delicious. The chemistries are more in balance, for us in the winery. So, we can, again, work very naturally because, pH is right where it should be. Alcohols are where they should be. So it's not like, again, some separate relationship. It's like, no, we're having a better impact on the environment, and we're creating wine that is more delicious and more singular.
Right. And the one thing that is really nice too is the body of your wine. It looks like it's averaging about 12.5% in alcohol. And so you could really enjoy it, but it's full. It's not light. It's got a full characteristic to it. So you're not losing anything by losing a little bit on the alcohol. What you're getting is you're getting a nice Goldilocks, a nice balance. It's just right. You're hitting it on both marks. You're hitting on volume, body, just all the flavors without even having to lose. It's not like you're really losing anything because the wine has so much character. I'm constantly dipping my nose into that, and I'm getting more and more different characteristics. But it's so nostalgic. Again, it's taking me to almost that. I almost get this baking sense too of like this, like this. Not I wouldn't say the gelatin style, but I would say like the jammy style to the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Got really nice. I love it. I love it. So, and I know the other thing too is really important. Like myself, with my 3-year-old, I see that you have a centerpiece with your own kiddo yourself. And does that really inspire you? Was that one of your other inspirations to really connect environmentally to like say, hey, I want to do something that is going to be impactful for him too?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think even more so, once he was born, thinking about everything that you really do and what impact you have, in this world, and teaching him, it all starts from when they're little, and teaching him about, where food comes from. I mean, he was raised and he's been raised in the winery. And so he's used to going out in the vineyards and picking the grapes. And yeah, it's definitely a family affair. And it's so interesting because as he's gotten older, his palate just, like Sauvignon Blanc is one of those grapes where it's like we get it from a beautiful vineyard down in San Ynez Valley called C5, and it's gorgeous, and you could taste pretty much what the wine is going to taste like. It's one of those grapes that comes off the vine, and you can taste like that grassiness, that like gooseberry, depending on where you're sourcing it from. And as he's gotten older, his palate for those grapes has definitely changed, and it's the purity of the grapes that he's tasting. And it's just thinking about growing food. We have a garden at home that we try and keep up with when we have time, and it's all, it's all about that. So yeah, it's definitely something that's very important to us to teach him.
Yeah, I love how he's like a great centerpiece for a lot of your media posts. You know, I see him out there with you, and he's taking a lot of pictures. He's out in the vineyards, and it's great. I love that. I see more and more winemakers actually doing this, where it's more of a family. It's a complete family affair, and it's a beautiful thing to see because it just shows what's going into that bottle. And uh, every time I sit with somebody, it gets me more emotional because I feel like what we normally see on a shelf, we can only connect so far, but when we get to connect with the people themselves and hear their story, it changes it completely. It makes you think like, I'm instead of drinking this at 95 miles an hour, I'm going to drink this at a slow 2.5 miles an hour, and I'm just going to like learn everything about what is in that bottle because that family put this in that bottle. You know what I mean? It's such an amazing connection, and I look at it and I'm like, man, this is just an amazing thing to have this connection. This because we've lost that for so long for this past year and a half with really connecting with one another. But now it's actually like going, now that we started reconnecting, this is a way that this art form of winemaking, what we normally just go and just purchase, you know, when we have to run into the grocery store, the liquor store, the wine shop, it's actually going to make it seem like now I want to know more of that story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got to know more of that story, what's in that bottle. And you're a great representation of that. So it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're seeing, you know, really you've had the slow food movement, which has happened for a while now, but you're finally seeing it translate to alcohol, you know. And I think you know, it's not just wine, but spirits, beer. You know, people want to know where what they're drinking is coming from. But in particular, wine, you know, has such a direct connection to a particular place, a particular time, along with the connection to, you know, a very human side as well. You know, how those were farmed, how they were chose to be made. You know, I think the human element doesn't get talked about enough with wine and winemaking, but you know, you're really tasting the essence of someone's palate and someone's decisions and all the steps that went into making that piece of art. Because to me, that's what great wine is. It's a food for sure. You know, it's meant to accompany food. It's meant to be part of your table. It shouldn't be like a trophy or like, you know, traded like baseball cards. But it's also, you know, a living piece of art. And it's kind of cool because that piece of art is always evolving. It's not like an album or a painting that's static. You know, when you taste the wine today versus when you taste it a week from now, you're going to have a slightly different experience, you know. And there's really nothing like that in terms of art.
So now when I drink your wines, I am going to be, like I said, my dad was a musician. I played trumpet and drums and stuff growing up. And one of the things that I did when my kiddo was still in the womb was we got these belly buds and we played music. We played everything from Mozart to everything, you know, while my wife was sitting reading or watching TV, we play a little music. But now when I taste your wine, I'm going to play my son's playlist, and I'm going to like kick back on my little veranda, and I'm going to play my mixtape because you just put that in my head. It's taking me to that place, that time back when I was young on that Saturday morning with my family, listening to all that music. I love it. For those of you that just tuned in, that are just joining us, thank you so much. I just want to take a minute to reintroduce. We are sitting with Cameron and Marlen Porter from Amplify Wines and co-founders of the Natural Action Wine Club. I cannot say enough, and I want to go into that. But one of the things I wanted to ask you was, what was the inspiration with the Sangio? And could you tell us about this red blend? Because when I see this red blend, I think of France table wine, Anthony Bourdain sitting in Provence, having a glass of red table wine like that. So, what was your inspiration? Go for it.
Well, for the four on the floor, it was a wine called Clos Cibon that was fermented under flor, like cherry. And so we wanted a wine that was in between Provence style rosé and something more sherry like that had the texture. You mentioned the body, a little salinity, something that I feel like some rosés are just very like one note, and we wanted something again that was different. I think that's one of the things that we always strive.
You're good. I got you back. Yeah, you're good.
I think it's one of those things that we again strive for with Amplify, to make something that you've tried before and give it a little bit of a twist, give it our edge, give it our spin. And so, I think our love of food and cooking also has a big influence on us. We cook a lot at home, and over the years, we've both become, more and more foodies and have explored different dishes. And so, again, kind of tying back to just like making good memories of listening to music, making good food, and enjoying each other's company, and kind of embodying that in the wine and giving you something that you could have alone or you could have with food. And like this rosé, for example, we find it's really great with stuff that's harder to pair, like artichokes, tomatoes, things with more acidity. One of my things that I really thought about when we first started Amplify was like, you don't really see a lot of food that pairs with like Mexican food, things with a lot of spice,
Right.
So our Carignan was, very light when we made it, and it was perfect with my grandma's mole that had the spice and
I love that
and all that. And so it's also, and that I love that with natural wine, it's kind of grown into be the food, the wine for so many different kinds of cuisines as well.
Right.
See it in, it used to be you could only see natural wine in like natural wine shops or very specific restaurants, and now you're seeing it on bigger lists of bigger restaurants that you wouldn't normally see these natural wines. And I think it's because they're so food friendly. So for us, that's always a big inspiration. The Parapato is actually dedicated to my dad, who was a musician. He was a saxophone player, like Cam said, was in a band called Grupo Anhelo with my uncles. And my dad was a very wild spirit. So we make a wine named after him every year. And it's usually our most fun, wild blends. They're different every year. So this year we made a 50% Sauv Blanc and 50% Merlot. So it's a really cool red wine because you get the the Merlot notes. It's lush. It's got a lot of that purple, violet, and fun. But then you get like the zippiness from the Sauvignon Blanc.
That is
it's
radical.
Kind of a fun, like, people don't really go, oh, Sauv Blanc, Merlot, like what a random blend, but it really works. And you could have it with a good steak, or you could have it with some cheese, or just like on the porch. And,
absolutely.
And so they're one-off wines. They're usually just a barrel. And so this year we decided to do a second iteration of that was aged a little bit more, and so that's where the dos came from.
Wow, that is awesome. I love that, and how this is really a representation of your pops. And I got to ask you, my dad's birthday is near the end of January, and I just want to say, would you mind if I save this bottle for that time so I can open it up and dedicate this to my pops too? Because I think we share a lot in common with the musician. My dad was a trumpet player. He did everything. He sang, he played piano, he played drums. He taught us all how to play instruments, but he was also an athlete too. But I would just love to have a bottle like this and just dedicate that to him. Like you said, for some reason, I think all musicians have a wild spirit, and like you're saying about your pops, That's how my dad was. He could go into any room and just start talking. I remember this concert. We went to this concert at Cal State Long Beach, and Cal State Long Beach has their own jazz radio station, and they had a concert with trumpet player Arturo Sandoval, who's Latin jazz, and Poncho Sanchez. And Arturo Sandoval just finished his set, and they were bringing on Poncho Sanchez. And I was sitting with my dad, and this was like right around Christmas time, and my dad goes, "I'll be right back." And we're sitting, we're kind of high up, at the amphitheater where we were at. And I was just kind of doing my own thing. I don't know what I was doing, but then the next day I was like, where's my, where's dad at? Like, where the heck is he? And I just happened to scan the floor, and he's sitting there talking with Arturo Sandoval and Poncho Sanchez as Poncho's setting up his congas and everything is. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And he's like waving me down. He's like, come on down. And I got to go down there and meet these guys, and I was just like, that's how my dad was. He was such a wild and free spirit, just like your pops. And that is so special to share that story and have that meaningful bottle like that represented. That is killer. I love that. So, like I said, thank you for saying that. And I'm going to love opening that bottle for that time. Remember my pops. And that's awesome. Yeah.
And it's actually, I don't know if I mentioned the name. So it's called Para Pato because we lost my dad in 2011. And so his stage name was El Pato, which means the duck. And also my grandfather was also a saxophone player. And so this is actually a photo of my dad's tenor that are about.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I love that. Yeah, you can see that right in there. You can see that. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
So Merlot and Sauvignon Blanc, that's if you want to talk about, you're talking about tempo, like 3/4 tempo and all that, like those are two different that is John Coltrane. You have one time when he's at 4/6 or whatever it is, and then 6/8, and he's like doing all these different odd tempos throughout his song. That is those two blends, Merlot and Sauvignon Blanc. You never really hear that combination, and that is awesome. I love that. I'm excited. I get excited. Forgive me.
That makes us happy.
And it's cool. So it's still from the same vineyard, old vine, like 42-year-old vines.
Right.
So there is still like a certain synergy between those grapes, even though it's a white grape and a red grape. They have a certain energy that they share, and it feels cohesive. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love just the inspiration behind the bottles, what you're making, how it's impactful to everything. And now I really want to talk about, and I know I brought this up with you, Marlen, but the natural, what is it? The Natural Action Wine Club. Tell us about that. This is a beautiful thing that you both do. Awesome.
Yeah, so we founded a Natural Action with our friends and peers from the wine industry, as well as the art industry and restaurant industry. And we all came together over the pandemic, and kind of after George Floyd, and everyone was thinking, and had time to really think about what could they really do in this within their own industry to make a change for the positive. And so we were and have been so lucky to connect with the right people that took the initiative along with us to start a scholarship program for the BIPOC community, who are, underrepresented, the lack of communication, the lack of resources, for for BIPOC is huge, you know, and financially, especially coming out of the pandemic with, you know, jobs lost and, you know, parents that want to send their kids to college and can't, you know, because they've lost their job. It's so important, you know, more than ever to use your voice. You know, we've been lucky. Like we have been fortunate to be able to grow our winery and have a brand that is recognized. And so for us, it was important to use that voice to be able to make a change and make a difference. And so with our friends, Khalil, Taryn, Eric, Saman, Justin, and Katie, we actually like are very shocked by how it's been received, and the, you know, the press and how many people have rallied behind us as well has been such a great and awesome kind of witness, and realize like there's so many people out there that want to support this cause. And so, and not only is it a great cause, but it's also fun. You know, you get 4 different wines 4 times a year. They're only they're exclusive to the club, and they're made by natural wineries. So you get the exposure from all these different wineries that I mean, I hadn't even heard some of the wineries that we're working with. And then they're fun to drink, and you get to kind of open your palate and have this experience while doing good. So it's been a really exciting venture for us, and we can't wait to see it grow.
It's awesome. And, you know, when I just blanked out, forgive me for blanking out on her name, but George Floyd's daughter, when she said her daddy changed the world, a lot of people have gotten inspired from this past summer, whether they marched, whether they did anything to create something like yourself, to do something, to create movement, to keep the foot on the gas pedal, and to really be a voice, to really be a support system. I cannot say enough about what ambassadors like you do for the industry. It's important, and I just got to say, if I was wearing a hat, I'd be tipping it off to both of you for what you do. And it's important. Yeah, no, it's important because you're providing a voice for people that don't have the opportunity or don't have it, that are maybe afraid of using their voice. You're providing a voice. You're providing an alternative. You're providing an opportunity to correct the negatives and put positives. You know, we need to put more positives out there into the world by doing something like this, by creating this nonprofit organization. It's absolutely a must, and it's celebrated. This is awesome. Cannot say enough about that.
Thank you. Yeah, and you know, and for us too, again, it comes back to creativity. You know, the lack of diverse voices in wine. You know, for me, it's like, what are we missing out on? What perspectives are we missing? What interpretations of place and of style and all these things are we missing out on by, you know, the wine industry just being people to look like me, you know?
Right.
You know, and so for me, like, that's a huge aspect of it too. You know, it's like there's all of these, you know, voices that haven't had an opportunity to express themselves in the medium of wine. And, you know, what will we gain? What will we see by allowing this universe to expand and become, you know, a broader palette of colors and voices and sounds, and, you know, people pushing the conversation forward because the world of wine is being open to, you know, a new community.
Yeah, it's so important. And, you know, that is one of the things I try to stress is when you create opportunity, it creates diversity. Mm-hmm. When you create opportunity, it's going to create diversity. And I think by helping those voices, again, by helping assist those voices, the voices that, like, hey, I didn't even know about these wines. Like you were saying, I didn't even know about these wines that we're drinking, and they're outstanding. They're fun to drink, and now people are drinking them, in this wine club. It is absolutely awesome because you're giving them a platform.
Yeah.
You're giving them an avenue where they could get a little bit of recognition and go, hey, I got to try their wine. I'm going to go get more of their wine.
Yeah.
So that's huge. That is huge. And I think we're all trying to do it. We're all trying to help with that support system. Amplify, just like what you're named to amplify those voices, and that is such a great thing.
Yeah, thank you.
One of my, I know we're getting close to the end. We have a few more minutes, but one of the things that I loved just in the short time that I've been sitting with you is how it's the Jerry Maguire moment. You complete me. I see you talking, and then I see Marlen jump in and help complete you. And it is such a great thing. I look at you both, and it's like, man, these two are like peas in a pod, man. It is just absolutely awesome. So how did you two meet?
We met at a house party that I had for one of my friends in December 2008.
No, it was before that, 2005.
Okay, 2005.
Yeah.
Time's gone by really fast. And so, again, like we bonded over music. We bonded over Prince that was playing in the background. And
What song?
What was it?
I feel like we were listening to definitely Kiss, but I feel like we were listening to the whole Purple Rain album.
I think
Purple
so.
Rain.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Darling Nikki.
Yeah. And so we were introduced by our mutual friend Mark Velasquez, who also does all of our labels, graphics, logos. We love him. He's been with us since the beginning of Amplify. And so we connected, and Cameron was living in LA in the music industry and was just getting into wine. And I was going to school for psychology and just getting into wine. And so we've both we've both grown together within the wine industry and, our relationship and everything else. And we are very lucky because, there's plenty of things that we don't agree on, as husband and wife, and just kind of working together. But I would say where we meet is our palate. Like we have I don't think we've ever made a wine where both of us are not completely on board with it or feel like, yes, we both kind of bounce ideas off of each other. And for the first, 7 vintages of Amplify, it was just the two of us. It was just last year that we got our first entrance. So being able to grow it from the ground up with us working with every single grape, I think has even brought us closer, and working on collaborations like the Ducanella. That was basically a wine that we made that was just kind of an accidental wine. We meant to, fermented them separately, and we're gonna bottle them up as separate wines. And he had a dream that he was blending in the cellar, and the next morning over breakfast, I said, hey, have you ever thought about blending? It was Muscat at the time, Muscat and Viognier. He's like, I just had a dream about that. And it sounds so cheesy, but it's true. And so we went to the cellar that Sunday and made Ducanella. And, it's been one of our favorite wines that we make every year. And, now people enjoy Ducanella, and we get to tell them the cheesy story.
Well, and I think also, if you're in an environment where you have, a marketing team weighing in on the way the wines taste, or people that you're only coworkers with, you I think sometimes compromise and just find a middle ground where you're like, okay, I'm kind of happy, you're kind of happy. But with us, we know each other so well and we're so close that if we really believe in something, we'll duke it out, no problem. We will fight for what we want. And because of that, what you end up with is something that there's nothing sacrificed.
Yeah.
If someone really believes in it, we and like Mar said, our palates are very similar. But I think
Right.
what you end up with in the bottle is something that is very full of passion and very much, from soup to nuts, like what we intended it to be creatively.
Yeah, again, how I said, when you get to meet the forces behind the product, it changes everything. And the two kids, I call you kindreds. You have the kindred spirits together. You guys have this play, even though you guys could, you know, have your a disagreement or so, but you're going to come together and it works. It works
Yeah.
because that's what it happens in the end. It's that magic. I always call it that ratatouille magic. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. And you can see it in your products. You can see it in your wine. Um, like I said, just tasting this rosé, it is just absolutely just beautiful. Just it's a novel. It's a novel, and it's developing over the time. And I can't wait because I know you sent me the Sangio as well, the straight Sangio as well.
Yeah.
So I am going to be jumping up and down when I taste that too. I'll probably post a little cartwheel video when I taste that. But again, just what an inspirational. I I I cannot say it enough, and I always say this, but when you connect the people to the product, it just changes everything. And sharing your time with us, sharing your story with us is pretty awesome. So thank you for doing that. Thank you so much for doing that and sitting with us today, sitting with the viewer, sharing your story, your vision, your passion, and what you do, not just with Amplify, but with what you do with the organization is just absolutely just amazing. Um, I always like to end with this question, and I know I love to hear your answer because the passion, the fire that you both have. So if you were to give advice for people that are out there, people that even are a part of the BIPOC industry, the people that are either questioning whether they should start their journey or starting their journey in the middle of their journey or even close to the end, and they don't know if they're going to get represented fairly. What would you like to say to them? What kind of advice would you give to them?
I would say don't give up and don't get discouraged. I think it is a lot of hard work to make wine and keep a winery going. I think the world of wine, has always been a world of people that have a decent amount of money to start with. It takes a good amount of money to make a little bit of wine. And so I think it's not giving up on that dream and feel, and of course there'll be setbacks and things like that, but sometimes that gives you more of the push to just keep moving forward and not to be discouraged and to just try and have that confidence in yourself to not give up, because it's never easy. Things are, it's part of life. Like there's struggle, and there's times where, like I'm sure with a lot of people feel the same way with the pandemic. It was just like, oh, are we going to get through this year?
Right.
And I think it taught us, like we said, like if we make it through this year, like we could make it through anything for Amplify because, so yeah. And I think just, keep pushing your dream, keep pushing, your own limitations, and don't be afraid to take risks as well, because sometimes those risks can be very rewarding. And, there were often times with us early on in our winemaking where, people were like, you're going to make that, you're crazy. And for us, it was kind of a push to make it. We wanted to make it because it was non-conventional, and so just believe in what you're doing and don't give up on that. What do you think?
Yeah, but I think,
Absolutely.
artistically, I forget who said it, but the long and short of it is like, as an artist, find that thing that people are going, oh no, you need to excise that from what you're doing. Find that thing and cultivate it, because that thing is the thing that's making you unique and making people go, oh, I don't know I don't know about this, you know. And I think with wine, it's definitely that. It's finding your own voice and finding how to cultivate that which is singular within yourself, which is your own sensibilities, your own palate. And then also I would say, you know, and I don't know that you even, at least from a winemaking standpoint, discover this until you've like worked a harvest or worked in a cellar. But, you know, wine, like other art forms to me, is something where you have to do it, you know, where it's like, forget the money struggle, forget all the hard work, forget all of that, you know. It's like if you're a painter, if you're a musician, if you're a filmmaker, you can't reject that impulse within yourself. You're not doing it out of like a monetary desire. You're doing it purely because you as a human being, this is, you know, what you are meant to do, and you have to do it. You know, you have to follow that passion within yourself. And so I would say, you know, if you're in winemaking, that impulse within yourself and that, you know, piece of your soul that is driving you to do it, that's why you have to be in it. You know, if you're in this to make money, you're in it for the wrong reasons, because, you know, it's kind of like running a restaurant. Like, it's extremely hard to make money running a winery. You know, it's certainly, if you want to go like the huge grocery store route or that kind of thing, I'm sure there's money to be made. But ultimately, like, it's about making a living from that which really stimulates your soul and drives you and moves you emotionally. And if you're not in it for that, then get out of it.
Right.
Find
Yeah.
something else to do, because, you know, if you're in wine, you have to be in it for that uncontainable desire to create and craft within the world of grapes and vineyards, you know.
Absolutely. So well said with the both of you. I love the words that you amplify. Seriously, it's awesome to hear. It's inspirational. You're creating inspiration. You're creating inspirational voices out there for everybody to be inspired and go for it. You know, that's the thing, is to go for it. And I really love what you said about it's, you know, if you're in it. I know we all try to do things about making a profit, but we really got to look at what we're passionate about. What, you know, you're artist. What you create by these wines, it's art.
Yeah.
And you said it from the beginning, it's art, and you can't steer away from that. This is all art. And you talk about bottles of wine, it's art. And it just gives you a much bigger, when we think of how small we are, it gives you a bigger representation. It gives you a bigger appreciation of what goes in this bottle and what you do, what you do as individuals to help that, and what you're doing as individuals to impact that in the wine community. You're making an impact, and it's an awesome thing. So thank you both for doing what you do. We need more people like you out there doing things like this unselfishly, and really just trying to make the world and the world of wine better. And you guys are awesome. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we got to do this again. We got to stay in touch. I know we'll stay in touch. But we just got to keep that communication door open, and we got to try to do this again, because I would love to see where your journey is going. I love to see where the Natural Action Wine Club is going, and I just love following it and seeing what you are both doing. It's amazing work. So keep on doing it. You're trailblazing for all of us.
Yeah, we'd love to have the whole Natural Action team join.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But thank you so much for your time. And until next time, we got to do a little cheers.
Cheers.
Got to do a little cheers. Everybody, cheers. All right, everybody.
All right.
Cheers.
All right. All right, cheers. Hey, and then I got to give one more last question. Where can we get your wines? Where can we find you? I want to make sure we say that.
So you can find us directly on our site, amplifywines.com. Until the end of June, end of May, we're offering 1 cent shipping. So you can get our wines for one penny, and right now everything is 15% off in the shop. And then we also have a great bundle with the Sangiovese duo. So we have the red Sanjo and then the rosé Sanjo 6-pack. And then we're distributed throughout California.